Hello to all the lovely women. It's Claudia here for Nourished by Claudia, and I am beyond excited to be sharing the screen today with Lucy Rose. Welcome, welcome. How are you, darling?
I'm so good. Really, really good. Yeah.
We're gonna hear all about her story from hypothalamic amenorrhea to get her first natural cycle. I also would like to underline that Lucy and we spoke together for the first time 1 year ago. So she was part of the period comeback protocol for a few months, and then she went back to the UK, came back to Australia, got her first period. And Lucy is one of those stories where it took a little longer to get the period back because it took a little longer for her body to feel safe. But now that she got her period, she's not gonna let it go anywhere.
No.
So, and I think that it's really important to find the fact that sometimes it takes a little bit longer than 7 weeks and a couple of months to get the period back. And it can take a little bit longer to really implement those changes that are needed from your body to feel safe, ovulate, and then menstruate. So, Lucy, would you mind sharing with us, how did you lose your period in the first place?
Well, like many of us, my diet was so restrictive. I sort of came from years ago. So I lost my period 3 months ago. And at that time I was having like IBS symptoms with eating, and I went to the doctor and they told me about IBS and they said have a low FODMAP diet. So from that I started cutting down my eating, like no gluten. I also had like reactions to onion and garlic and no dairy as well. So that sort of sent me down a certain path with my diet then becoming a bit more restrictive, but it did actually help my stomach problems that I was having. And I've always been into exercise. Like my mum's a Pilates teacher and I've been teaching fitness classes since I was 18 years old. So background in fitness. And then that year, I started exotic dancing as well. And so that's a job where, you know, you're naked pretty much all the time. So that is worrying about how I look was a huge factor of that. So these things all kind of came together. And, you know, when you start to lose weight, it's like a drug. The way that you feel and, you know, the power that you feel inside. Even though looking back now, I know it was very materialistic, but also at that time, I moved to Australia. So loads of huge things happening in my life, restrictive diet, which then became like, when I was dancing, coffee in the morning, gym, work, and then I'd have one meal a day, which would be like a salad or something, you know? So there's no nutrients there. So yeah, those were the main things I would say.
May I ask, when you start losing weight, did you receive compliments or did you receive any comments in terms of how your body was changing?
Absolutely, yeah. It's like well, especially with dancing, you know, the people who I was, like my customers, that's all they would talk about. And then, you know, it sort of bled into my personality, you know, being the sexy one, being, you know, fit, being the one who's like toned, and that's what was all encompassing for me. It's like, it's crazy to look back on now, but it's, you know, I still do feel that way. I definitely still have those thoughts in my mind, like that's who I want to be, but it's not who I am anymore.
And in terms of being sexy and being feminine, once you lost the weight and you started exercising and getting quite obsessive in terms of your exercise routine, did you actually feel feminine or in touch with your femininity?
No. I mean, I felt like, I think with my job, it was definitely empowering, but looking back, being able to look back on it now, it was such a shallow feeling. It's not like the feeling that I have now, being more in touch with myself. It was very, like shallow, materialistic, impulsive, you know, it wasn't a true feeling of being feminine. Yeah.
is that surface level feeling that if someone comes with a comment or if something triggering happens, then it's made of nothing. It crumbles.
Yeah.
And right now you feel more empowered when it comes to making choices in terms of your body, and so you have got in touch with your innate wisdom, and that's something that no one can touch. No comments can actually shake that to the core. So we talked for the first time 1 year ago. First of all, may I ask you what made you book the call with me, and what made you seek out help?
Well, a few reasons. One being, you know, the novelty wears off after not having your period for a while, because it is fun for a bit, you know, not having to worry about pads and things like that. Like, well, you can't lie. It's great. And but then it was like, oh, okay, this has been going on for a bit long now. There's got to be a problem. And then my mum, she has, it's not a similar thing in any way, but she has something to do with her bladder, which she is on a Facebook group with, and she was seeking advice from women and things like that. And she tells me about this group, and so I thought, oh, there must be something out there, you know, like-minded, or women who are in the same situation as me, who I can engage with on social media, or just to find out anything. And then I was searching through groups, and I found you, and felt most aligned with what you were offering. And so, yeah, then that's why I wanted to book the call. And also, I think I was getting to the age in my mind where I was thinking about having children. Not that I want them anytime soon, but definitely my attitudes changed. And that was a big worry for me, you know, not having my period means that I can't get pregnant. So yeah, that was a big factor as well as to why I wanted to do something about it.
And I remember enjoying our first conversation so much because it wasn't only about training and nutrition and all of that, but there was also a big spiritual component that was playing part in the things that we were talking about.
Yeah.
And we had the same beliefs in how the body really internalized your feelings and then obviously affect how your sex hormones can work or not. And when we started working together, you were following kind of a plant-based diet, or fully vegan, actually. It was a fully vegan diet at the very beginning. You were still experiencing quite a lot of bloating, and your behaviors around food were quite disordered, let's say, somehow. And I remember that you started feeling quite well very soon in terms of your digestive symptoms, but it took a little bit longer for all the other things to come to place. So can you tell us actually a little bit more of what you really focus on your recovery journey, and what you struggled the most, especially in the first couple of months?
I think so. At first, we tackled food, and that was because I wasn't eating breakfast. You know, I was having like a hot beverage for breakfast, and it was taking the little steps. And I think that is like the main thing for me that I realize now that's important, is that it is a process, and there's no one magic thing, or there's no I don't really know how to describe it, but there's no one thing, or you have to do all these things perfectly and then you'll get your period. It's, you know, we are all so different, and your body will naturally get there in its own way. But yeah, so I think with the food, I've written some notes here. I'm just gonna have a look at what I wanted to say. But yeah, because being fully vegan, and also, you know, saying I'm gluten-free and saying I can't have onion, I can't have garlic, my working with you changed my attitude, because I was calling them problem foods, but they're not, they're just food, you know. So yes, I was having certain reactions to food, but I think my mind was also playing a huge part of that. So I think releasing those thoughts about I can't have this, I can't have that, I won't have that. And with being vegan as well, when I went home back to England, I did eat some animal products. And I think that has been a huge part of it. Although it's like morally, I still feel quite twisted about it. But for a person who is undernourishing themselves in every other factor, I do believe that, you know, vegan diet is sustainable. But I think for myself, who was living off salads or carrot and hummus, you know, like I wasn't really varying my diet. I think I definitely needed that kickstart in terms of protein and things like that I just wasn't getting otherwise. So that was, I think that's a huge part of it, for widening my diet. And also at the start, which is what I found quite hard, was eating more. It made me feel a bit, it did make me feel heavy, it did make me feel slow. And then I think I also have times when if I eat too much or like tasty things, I will then, you know, binge and then starve and then binge and then starve, and then that would set me off in the wrong way. So that again, I mean, it's taken a year, or it's taken longer, and it's still a process, and not everything is fixed right now. You know, I still sometimes will restrict myself, or I still sometimes will overeat, but I'm definitely getting better than I was. But yeah, it's taken me this time to find my flow and what's right for me. And also with exercise, not doing high intensity, eating before or eating after, and but it's not like, oh, you have to have these specific things. It's like, just do what is right for you or what you feel comfortable doing. And I've massively been doing, it's funny because it's all the cliches, but they're cliches for a reason. It's like, I'm not doing high intensity exercise, I'm doing yoga, I'm doing lots of meditation and breath work, and I think that has been a huge help as well.
Yes. Yeah, it's taking care of your body from the bottom up and from the brain down. But there are things you said that I love so much. I really would like to go back to them. First of all, you mentioned that you're not perfect. There are still things that you can work on and that you're still working on. And I love that so much, because so many women that have this idea that if they're not doing the HA recovery journey perfectly, then they're going to fail at it. And back. And secondly, that once you get your period, everything else is going to be fixed. And that's absolutely it's like the biggest BS that we have been sold in the recovery process. And the other things that you mentioned is that not one size fits all. Because, for example, the two of us, we started with nutrition, because if your body is completely undernourished, then obviously there is little space for progress. And I've noticed that there are so many women that try different techniques, like, for example, somatic work, and as you mentioned, breath work and acupuncture, but they don't cover the foundation. So and you can change the way that you move your body, the way that you take care of your body, and how much you feed your body, then all the other things, they're not really gonna have the huge impact that they could actually have when you once, if it makes sense.
Absolutely.
So tell me, what have you been struggling the most in terms of in your recovery journey? Was it more the exercise, or coming to terms that your body was changing, or was like giving yourself the freedom to eat specific food? What was it for you specifically?
I think the mental aspect of it, of overcoming seeing how I look, I think that's a really hard one, because I remember like buying I just remember having the Alyssa Vitti In the Flow book, and I would like read a page, and then I would, you know, I just remember trying to read that book so many times, but only getting so far and thinking, I'm not ready for this, I don't want to read this all, because somehow I thought that if I read the whole thing, it like magic things would change. No, it's like, again, you've got to I was sort of doing it because it's, you know, someone recommended it, but I think it's about, maybe now I've gone back to it, I'm like, this is so interesting, you know, I'm like reading it because I'm actually interested in doing it. Same as the things of like yoga, or same with the things of eating differently. It's like, I'm not doing that, I'm not just doing this because I want to get my period. It's like, I'm doing this because I actually enjoy it and I actually want to do it. And it's like, instead of putting the pressure. But I think, yeah, so what I've struggled with the most, I think, is seeing, I don't know, because it's just been like so up and down. I think finding my flow, finding what works for me, trying out different things. I think panicking about not being able to have children, and panicking about, you know, my life is going to end. I'm not going to be able to do this or that, and, you know, not feeling like a real, not feeling feminine. That definitely doesn't help, you know. It's just like, life is life, you know, you things still carry on. The most difficult, yeah, it's definitely about like releasing the behaviors that I have been engaging in for years. Like, it's been, even before losing my period, I was definitely still always thinking about exercise and food. So to like, it's so hard, how it's really hard to think outside of that when you're in it.
Yeah.
Because like, it's easy for me to talk about now looking back, like, oh yeah, you know, like but it's so hard. It's a mental attitude, I think, for myself, going, because I've been in Australia for the 3 years that I lost my period, connecting with my family, going home, connecting to my roots, like what's really important, not whether I've got a six-pack and toned thighs, you know, like connecting to what's really important was a huge catalyst for me to point myself in the right direction. So yeah,
Your sacral chakra, I love that so much.
exactly, yeah.
There is something that I wanted to ask you. Have you ever got to a place where you thought, this is not going to work for me, I'm going to be the one that is not going to get the period?
Oh, like, at least, yeah, weekly, you know, like, think like that. Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm as blind as a bat lately. Hashtag aging. But yeah, so you mentioned weekly.
Yeah, I think maybe not weekly, but I would definitely have those thoughts quite a lot when, you know, like how you say to us, are you really doing all the things? Are you really? When we're like, yeah, I am, you know, it's like, well, no, you're not. But I think when, I don't know, I think maybe like when other people talk about their period or something, or it's normalized in a conversation, and you think, oh well, you can't help but sort of have a feel sorry for yourself moment. So yeah, I think I definitely would think like that, because it's been so long. I know other women have had it for longer, but that's not natural to not have your period for so long. And so you think, oh well, this is just it for me now for life. Like, it's, yeah, it was so random when it happened, really random. So and it will be for anyone, but yeah, definitely was thinking quite a lot that it would never come back, or it would come back when, or I think it will come back when this, it will come back when that, and yeah, when you're ready to make the changes. But yeah.
How did you work through that uncertainty? Like, how did you keep moving forward and making changes when your core belief on some days was, I'm the one that is not gonna get the period back?
I think when I think things in my life have sort of slowed down a lot more since I've come back to Australia. So gaining a fresh perspective on things, in the sense of not my physical appearance being the priority. And I think slowly, when you're, you know, you're up here, you're wired, you're going through all of that, slowly things started coming away. And I think I would focus, not explaining it very well, but focus on those certain things. Like I was saying before about doing the things because I'm actually enjoying them, not for the purpose of losing my period. Getting my period back. Yeah. So yeah.
That's the core, isn't it? When you really start embracing life and you sit in gratitude and you focus on what is going on around you instead of only on did I have the snack today? Did I have enough for a snack? Did I move my body enough? Have I done my meditation practice? Have I done my journaling? That's when actually your body feels safe.
Yeah.
Alert mode slowly disappears. And you drop the cortisol, you drop the adrenaline, and finally you get in touch with yourself and with your own needs. So, Lucy, when did you get your period back and how was it?
Oh my God. So it was last week, on the new moon, obviously. Yeah. And it was amazing. Like, I woke up in the morning and I went to the loo and there was blood. I was like, what the hell? And I rang my mum and I showed her my stained sheets. And she was like, oh, she couldn't believe it. Yeah, I just couldn't believe. Oh, it felt amazing. And then another little thing that I told you about, like I had to go, I was at work and I had to ask a girl at work for a pad. She was like, oh, so many people asked me for this. And I was just like having a little moment inside, like, oh my God, I haven't asked somebody for a tampon or a pad for years. Like, it's just crazy. Yeah. And what was so bizarre was like, my period was like, it was like when I first had them, when I first got them, because I was on the contraceptive pill for a bit when I was like 16, 17, but it's really like gone back to, it's like in terms of like the heaviness and the pattern of it. But yeah, honestly, it felt amazing. It's still surreal. Like I'm still can't believe it's happened. And it actually feels like I've stepped into a new chapter in my life, which I have, really, because I've got my period, but it feels like, I don't know, walked into a new portal. It's indescribable, really.
Did you feel that your period was coming?
No, I kind of, there was no sort of like cramps or, the typical things. I think another good thing is to actually vocalize what's happening. If you do have people who can support you, or people who you like can openly talk about it with, because I have been talking about it with lots of friends who are there to support me, as well as my family, and I had been talking about it more and thinking about it. And I think also, like, because my sex drive for the last few years has just been absolutely out the window, don't know, like, with the hormones disappeared. And then recently I've been kind of like having some, feelings. And so
there is someone over there.
Yeah, exactly, like anything with a pulse, but no,
after more than 3 years, Lucy, fair enough.
Just a nice smile will do. But yeah, so like kind of having those like feelings in my mind and in my body, and so then that like, and then putting myself out there in that sense, so that had definitely changed. Like I hadn't felt like that at all, but then didn't correlate it at all with, oh, I might be having a period, and then there it was. Yeah.
Personally speaking, I had the same experience. Absolutely nothing, just some cervical mucus a couple of weeks before, but really not a big show. And then I went to the bathroom and there was my period.
Yeah.
So, and that's quite reassuring for all the women that are really sitting in the toilet every single day, checking the cervical mucus, or there is nothing, that means that I'm not going to get my period. Well, not really. Like,
Yeah.
I've never experienced breast tenderness, and most of my clients, they don't experience breast tenderness. What about you? Did you get those type of symptoms like bloating, breast tenderness, headaches, pain in the lower back, anything like that?
Literally nothing out of the ordinary, because sometimes I do have problems with processing food, or like if I still like onions and stuff like that, which I do eat now, but my stomach is generally like a little bit bloated anyway, you know, with just life. But nothing out of the ordinary. I never really get, only when like I have poos, you have the vaginal discharge, but nothing that I would have been like, oh, I know, you know, like I know this is going to mean I'm going to have my period. So yeah.
How are you going to keep your period?
Oh, that's such a good question. I'm going to continue doing, it sounds so simple, but continue doing what makes me feel good, not restrict myself. I think practicing, you know, sometimes I do really feel like, yeah, I do want to do a hardcore workout, or I do want to do this, but because again, like, because I want to feel that way, I want to, because I'm going to enjoy it, not in the sense of because it's going to make me lose weight. So I think continue tentatively down the path that I'm on, not with stressing myself, you know, like I have to be like this to, you know, get my period again, or I have to be like this because I'm trying to be healthy, or because I'm in a new chapter. Like just generally taking it easy and doing the things that that make me feel good. Yeah.
That sounds so lovely, because that's life in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Just trying to live my life.
Yeah, and instead of restricting yourself, look, I'm not a big fan of doing a hardcore workout after getting the first period. I normally always say just wait for 3 periods just to be on the safe side. But
Yeah.
I can also hear that you're coming from a point of view, well, you have been working on this for 1 year, not only 7 weeks, let's say. So the body has established a very strong foundation. And whatever you're sharing with us right now comes from a place of honesty and transparency, meaning that I don't want to change my body again. I've already been down that path and it led me to nowhere. Finally, I got a sex drive back. I can eat the food. I don't have to work out if I don't want to. I can travel, experience being with people. Why screw that again, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Lucy, it has been absolutely amazing having you here. Until now, I completely forgot how much I've missed you.
I know.
So it was really nice having you part of the Czech community. It was really nice to have continuous conversations every week, but I am also beyond happy that finally you have entered this new chapter of your life. I know that this video is going to resonate super well with a few women, and I'm going to tag them straight after it gets published. So thank you so much. And now I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there anything that you wish that you could have told yourself 1 year ago, or something that you would love to tell other women that are in this journey, especially for those ones that have been waiting and waiting without seeing results?
Yeah, I've really been trying to think about this, because I thought that you might ask me that in a way that's like constructive for somebody to hear. I think it's not going to be, I don't really know. I think definitely knowing that it's not having everything perfect, or sorry, not having everything perfect, you can still have your period. Like you may change one aspect of, you know, you might still be fighting battles with food, but you've stopped hardcore exercising, or that's just an example. Or maybe the other way around, you know, you're starting to change your attitudes to food, exercise, but you're still, you know, sorting out your diet. And I think releasing the control that we have over our own bodies, or the control that we've been trying to have our own bodies, and trying to control our HA recovery journey will be a huge, will be very beneficial. And just sort of taking it step by step, knowing it's a process. yeah, I think a perspective is a huge one, understanding that it is a process and it's not going to be the one magic thing, you know, oh, today I did my breakfast, snacks, lunch and dinner perfectly, so tomorrow I'm going to get my period. You know, my body has been changing for over a year, and it's taken that amount of time to not be pushed to the extreme of exercising, to actually have the nutrients be inside my body for this long to be able to menstruate. So yeah, I think knowing that it's a process is a huge one.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. And
Yeah,
I'd like to add that it's not only your body that has changed over the past 12 months, but you have done an incredible job also when it comes to your mindset in terms of food training, body image, and so
yeah,
much is gonna come anyway.
yeah. Yeah, if you rate the love that you push out, you'll get it back. So it's when I know when I first had the call with you, I was not in a good place. I was in a rut. I was not happy, and I think it is good to know that you will be so confused, or you won't know what's right for you at first. It's like anything. It's like learning anything. You're gonna fuck it up a few times, and then it's gonna get back to it. And if you think, for how many years of stress or not treating my body right, I can't say 4 years. How can I expect my period to come back quickly when there's already been that much time, you know? And also, how can I expect myself not to regress when I've been in that behavior for such, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Because whenever I say it, it's like a broken record, but when someone else say it, it feels so fresh and new and true. Absolutely.
But it's true. It's like any behavior pattern that a person goes through, whether it's to do with having an eating disorder or exercising too much, or the other behaviors that we engage in, then yeah, you're going to regress. Okay, maybe if you don't, then that's amazing, but it's a natural thing to happen. Yeah.
But also, if you look at a relationship, right, you start hanging out and it's all good and well, but then after a while, there is a period of turmoil where you really decide, are we the right fit? Can we continue, or are we gonna go back to where we were before? And then,
Yeah.
well, then other fights are gonna happen. And it's like building a business, creating a relationship, having a friendship. So why do we expect that the relationship with our body is different?
Yeah.
And our body needs to respond like that as soon as we make any changes. So I cannot thank you enough, Lucy. I think that you have highlighted a few things that women really needed to hear. And that's it. The last questions that I would like to ask you is, if women would like to get in touch with you, can they connect with you through Facebook? Would you mind, or that's something that...
Absolutely, I would. Any help I can give, I would love to, because I want everybody to, without sounding like a dick, I want everybody to feel like how I feel. You know, it's an amazing feeling, and please message me, contact me, whatever. I'm so happy to help.
I am so happy that we had that conversation 1 year ago, and I am even happier that we have this conversation today. Lucy, thank you so much once again. And for all the wonderful ladies that have been joining us today live or are watching this on replay, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.